Hey everyone, welcome back to Fiverwatch. My name is Altair and I'm joined by my friends Mayor and Mika. And today we are burdened with glorious purpose because today we're going to be talking about the misadventures of everyone's favorite God of Mischief, Loki.
But of course, we are going to be discussing the episodes in full. So if you haven't seen Loki yet, what are you doing here? We're gonna be anti-influencers for a bit and tell you to get away if you haven't seen Loki because we want you to enjoy it as much as we did. So if you haven't seen it, this is your spoiler warning.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, guys. How are you guys enjoying the titles?
I believe at the 6-minute and 34th second up until 39th, I think is a nice win. That's like great. I wish there were like more seconds. Yeah, I wish there were more seconds of that scene. Not saying it's my wallpaper right now, but yeah. Of course, Tom Hiddleston is great. But I'm gonna be completely honest. Loki didn't exactly hit me the same way as WandaVision did and as Falcon and the Winter Soldier did. Like, I didn't even expect to like Falcon and the Winter Soldier that much. I did. WandaVision was just like, okay, for me, it's still my favorite. Loki, I was prepared to like, here we go. Okay, another Marvel thing, and it's a bit of a slow burn for me, and like I didn't really get as even like just like half as invested I did for WandaVision up until this episode, until episode 3. My news feed, I was talking with friends about it. Everybody kept saying, "Why is nobody talking about Loki?" And I also did wonder that because it's like, people brought up that, it was possibly overshadowed by the release of Trece. Another was that we might be on a Marvel sort of like, we might be oversaturated with Marvel at this point. Maybe they should
Marvel
have
fatigue.
waited a bit. Yeah, a bit of fatigue. It's possible. But yeah, which I feel like is a little sad because it's a really well-made series. It's more like Mindhunter, like these investigative thrillers, which is so interesting, like the set, the tone, and everything. It's incredibly different and in a good way. And I feel bad and also guilty that I am not as invested in it, that, in a way that I thought I would be.
I don't think you're alone. I mean, to be honest, Loki's probably the only Marvel character that I've cosplayed. So, Loki fan. But I actually was also probably in the same boat as you when it comes to this TV show. WandaVision, up there. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was like a huge surprise to me how that turned out. Loki is actually quite a slow burn. But before I go forward to that, I want to hear what you have to say, Mayor.
I like it. No, I feel that it's just because it came right after Falcon and Winter Soldier. If this were the one after WandaVision and before Falcon, people would have talked about it as well. This show would be as much talked to as well. Basically, the adrenaline will be like linear upward, right? But since Falcon came first, right? So you have your WandaVision, which is like creepy underlying tension, right? And then Falcon is like boo, kapow, dynamite, explosion, right? And now it's more intelligent thriller, suspense. So like, of course, I would imagine after watching like the first episode, I already got the feeling that not a lot of people will be talking about the show.
Mm-hmm.
But when you ask them, do you like the show? They probably will say yes. Which is very, very interesting because seldom do we get a show that, which dissects like a certain character, much less a villain in the MCU, right? And the show is doing that in spades. Very metaphysical. All of it is very metaphysical.
Yeah,
which I enjoy, which is a change of pace for me.
And now that you say it, it's very sort of like introspective for Loki. Now he's being asked all these questions like, why do you like to do this? Like, okay, so you like to create mischief, and then what? So it is very introspective for Loki. And like you mentioned, Mayor, I do agree that, because of the timeline, maybe if they had released Loki after, like before Wanda, like if it was the first one before WandaVision, maybe people would have gotten on the train a bit more. Just because I feel like compared to WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki is we can't feel yet its connection to the MCU, and maybe that's
Yes.
why there's a bit of a disjoint. Or maybe that's why, like, for example, I can't feel invested because I'm not sure where exactly in the MCU he is. And, like, for example, for WandaVision, that was a big question. Like, when did this happen? So we were all asking that. When we finally found out, that's when it paid off. For Falcon and the Winter Soldier, obviously, we know the connection to the MCU. This one, we're not exactly sure because this is a Loki that is not supposed to be in the first place. He's like
Yes.
a respawn Loki.
Yeah.
He's that
He's a
save
respawn.
file. yeah.
It's
He's
an
a
old
save
save file.
file that you. Yeah, he's an old save file.
It's like
So
you
he's not
loaded the one
supposed to be there.
from the Avengers, and then you played that
Yeah.
game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the main things that struck me with this show is it actually feels like, I I feel it could be one of those BBC series where
I agree.
it actually, I don't know about you guys, but are you guys getting any like Doctor Who feels with the show? Just because
Yeah,
Yes!
totally.
yeah, because
Absolutely.
we're talking about time travel and
Timey
then
wimey.
it's a bunch of guys in suits and ties trying to go back and forth in the timeline, figure things out, more onto the talking about conceptual stuff as opposed to the big exploding action fight scene thing going on. So and I think Loki is lending itself toward that. It's more of like what you said, it's more cerebral, it's very highly conceptual. The first episode is like it's an exposition dump. Half of the episode was basically about the TVA telling us where
Yeah.
how this whole time construct works, and it's a
It
lot of
was exposition in this voice.
exactly, and
You
it's
had
even that
Miss
Miss
and it's even that 50
explaining
Yes.
everything
exactly.
to you.
We don't even see what's happening in the real world, so that's why it's a little detached if you're already invested in what's going on in the main timeline. Let's talk about the first episode, Glorious Purpose. For me, I think the most important thing was establishing the relationship between Mobius and Loki, and I really like the banter between them. What do you guys think?
So basically, the first episode, I feel like it needed that time for people to understand what the TVA is.
Mhm.
Our world, our existence is dictated by three magical lizards.
Yeah.
Right? Which still adds to a lot of mystery with the TVA because technically they haven't explained what the TVA is, right?
Well,
They only
sort of, yeah.
explained what the TVA does.
I still
Right.
don't get it.
Yeah. And I like how they represented it in the show.
Yeah.
It's very 70s.
Yeah, old school
70s
cartoon.
salaryman. It really feels like, if I'm gonna compare it to a game, it really feels like BioShock.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It does.
very retro, Victorian,
Even
postmodern.
Deco. It's even the decoration
Art
of how the
Deco,
TVA,
very
Art
Art
Deco.
Deco-y.
even the TVA, it looks
Yeah.
like something straight out of one of those like Art Deco, old black
Yeah.
and
With the
white stuff.
elevators. And
Like-
and I like that drawer with a billion Infinity Stones in it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the best. It was like there. And then they were like, oh yeah, they use it as paperweight sometimes.
Yeah.
And,
sometimes.
I would definitely love like a spin-off, I don't know, miniseries or something about Casey and looking at all of the things that he has to do. He's the best. I
Yeah.
love him. And I love that he's just
Yeah.
literally trying to live his life and work. And all of these things are just like thrown at him, especially when
I lo-
Loki comes into the picture.
He got genuinely sad when his workload got disintegrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He's like,
Yeah.
oh man, that was one day.
Or it's like I was working on that the whole week, my reports or something. And it's like I think so
Oh,
many
man.
people would relate to him and collecting Infinity Stones and and later on when Loki, does something to his food and everything and he's just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I like
the
that there's
style of
always
the
a sad
TVA.
character like him. That was
I
just
know.
fun.
And that's
That's
what
a fun
he's
addition.
he's the Jimmy Woo of
Exactly,
Loki.
exactly.
Like-
Yeah, he's the Jimmy Woo of Loki. Basically.
He's the everyman's man.
Yes, he's the everyman's man.
Yeah.
And I would definitely watch a series of him just trying to work peacefully in the TVA and things
A day
are
in the
just
life.
like a day in the life, a day in
Yeah.
the life of Casey.
That'd be a nice
but yeah,
Marvel
you're-
short.
Yeah, I think this is so new to a lot of people because it's very very slow. It is a lot of exposition and like for example the first episode there's not a lot of action happening at all. And
At the start, when Loki gets slapped.
Yeah, that's like
In one
that's a
sixteenth of time. In one
That's all
sixteenth
the action
speed.
you get.
that's like the most action that you get. It's a pace that's very new to Marvel. But I think it's also interesting that they explore this sort of slow burn.
Yeah.
Because what better way to introduce a time authority than to act like you have all the time in the world?
That's true.
So it
Yeah.
gives it a new vibe, and like instantly the moment you have episode 1, you're as lost as Loki and you're like, where am I? What's going on? Why is there no sense of urgency? What is this? So the same way that you feel, and you feel impatient, you feel like, okay, can I just get out of here? That's exactly what Loki feels as you're watching it. This
Yeah.
confusion, coming as a Marvel fan, coming from Endgame, coming from Falcon the Winter Soldier, and then suddenly you're just stuck in an office and you're like, Owen Wilson is there, and everybody's wondering,
Move, guys! Move! Let's go!
One of my favorite parts, though, in episode 1 is definitely that the time theater when Mobius brought Loki into that
Yes.
office, and then basically he was able to see what happened to canon Loki's life. Of course, it was a homage to all of those beats of when his mother in Dark World was killed, when Odin died in Ragnarok and Asgard fell, and how he was eventually killed by Thanos. All of those beats he was able to um, react to, and I think that was a really really good moment. It's just a treat to a Marvel goer just seeing that whole story arc of Loki come out in
Yeah.
the time
I
theater.
I actually forgot that the Loki that was watching that is 2012 Loki. So
Yeah.
he's actually seeing how he dies.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, and then that I actually had to rewatch that scene because at first I was like, okay, so he's replaying with that moment in his death. I'm like, but wait, he's not dead. Oh, this is 2012 Loki.
Yeah.
So he's seeing his future, he's seeing his decisions, and then he reacts on all of these decisions, knowing that in the future he gets, you know, killed by Thanos. He, you know, somehow makes reparations with his brother, which is encouraging.
Yeah.
But you know, something that he said led to the death of his mother, so he's dealing with all of that.
From how I understood it, I think Loki was thinking that's not how I wanted my glorious purpose to be. If that was just like making
Yeah.
amends with my brother, he wanted more, or like if he could do it again, it's like a do over, like Back to the Future or something. But like he wants to rewrite that story because honestly, to
It
be
wasn't
honest,
his
like
glorious purpose.
exactly. And I mean, when we were watching Infinity War in the movie house, and when I saw Loki, that I was like, no, man, that is not how Loki goes. So I think this is
Yeah.
Marvel giving that character another shot at rewriting that, you know, that story.
I like the first episode because it breaks Loki down. Right?
Yeah.
To the point that there is a scene at the very end wherein he's like, fine, you really want to know like what I really feel. Here it is. I don't really like hurting people.
He's just mischievous, eh. He's
Right.
not evil. Like
Yeah.
he's like in the chaotic. He's like chaotic, but he's not evil.
The first episode of this show has already given Loki such a huge character development right there.
True.
In just 50 minutes of him talking and seeing his future and trying to escape but being rewinded back all the time.
That's so annoying. It's so
The
annoying.
time caller. I love that gadget. Yeah. So overall, the first episode I feel for me was a good start. It really showed what to expect from the whole show in general. Okay, this show is gonna be a lot of talkies,
It's a talkie show.
a lot of conversations, a lot of retrospecting in terms of Loki.
I think it was really meant to, like you said, be an establishing thing and a talkie episode. That's why it's more of a slow burn than the other episodes. But I think it really sets the stage for how the rest of the story is gonna pan out.